Hey, this is going to be the video for quadratic formula notes. All right. Hopefully, this video isn't going to be too long. All right. What we're going to do is kind of introduce the quadratic formula. So, this is kind of what the quadratic formula looks like. All right, with some numbers plugged in, and what we're going to do, okay, is just kind of work on simplifying. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through how you would simplify this, all right, and kind of the process, because it looks hard, but you can do a lot of the steps at the same time. So the first thing, we don't really have anything to do there, so I'm just going to leave that as -7. We've got our plus or minus, our square root. Now there's a bunch of stuff that we can do inside the square root. So the first thing we can do, all right, 7 squared. We know what that is, so that's 49. So we can do that. The next thing we have is this right here. So this is all multiplication, all right? So we need to do -4 times 2 times 3. And that gives us -4 times 2, that's -8. And then 8 times 3 is 24. So we got -24. And then on the bottom, we've got 2 times 2, which is 4, okay? And so now we can keep going. So now the only thing that we can do here to simplify is this subtraction right here, because everything else is just a number, so we can leave that the same. So 49 minus 24, that's going to be 25 over 4. And this is where our simplifying radicals helps. Now, this is a whole number, all right, so we can just take its square root. But even if it wasn't a whole number, we could still simplify that radical no matter what it was. So we know the square root of 25 is 5. All right. And this is the point where we're kind of stuck. All right. We've got 3 whole numbers right here. We can't do any more simplifying. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at this. So if you remember the quadratic formula, you've got plus or minus. All right. It is both plus and minus at the same time. This is actually 2 different equations. So once you've got it down to this part where you can't simplify it anymore, you are going to actually split it into 2 different equations. All right, one with the plus sign and one with the minus sign. So we've got -7 plus 5. That's -2. So we have -2 over 4. That's equal to -0.5. And then over here we've got -7 minus 5. That's -12 over 4. -12 divided by 4 is -3. So we've got answers of -12 and -3. So whenever you're doing the quadratic formula, you just kind of like absolute values, you need 2 numbers. Okay. So I'm not going to do these 2 on the right. You're going to do them basically the exact same way that you just did this one. I encourage you, though, to try them on your own, and then, you type them into Desmos and see if you got them right. So the quadratic formula, all right? So the quadratic formula is a way to get the answer to a quadratic no matter what, all right? It's the most foolproof form. So the quadratic formula is this: x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right. So this stuff that we did above, all right, that was like a version of the quadratic formula with the numbers already plugged in. So what we're going to do, all right, is we're going to write the equation in standard form, okay? So this is standard form of a quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, all right? You cannot use the quadratic formula until it equals 0, all right? So when we look at this problem over here, this equals 3, all right? We need it to equal 0. So before we can use the quadratic formula, we must subtract 3 to kind of bring that over. Now, we don't have any like terms over here, right? This has an x, this does not have an x, so we're not going to do 4 minus 3. We're just going to kind of leave it separate. 4x minus 3 equals 0. If you did have like terms, you could combine them, but we don't. Now that we've got it set equal to 0, now we can substitute our values into the quadratic formula. So again, if you look here, all right, what's in front of the x squared is your a value. What's in front of your x, that's your b value. And your number by itself is your c value. So you got to make sure you get those values correct. So now we don't have anything in front of our x squared, all right? So our a value is going to be 1. Our b value is what's in front of our x, so our b value is 4. And our c value is our last term, our number by itself, so that's -3. So what we're going to do, all right, is we're going to take all these numbers and we're going to plug them in to the quadratic formula. So the important thing that I always tell students is that whenever you're plugging stuff in, plug it in parentheses, all right? Even this right here, the -b part, just in case that b is negative, all right, that way you can see your two negative signs. So we got x equals -4. Plus or minus, so we got the square root of b squared, so that's 4 squared. Again, put that b in parentheses, all right? I promise it'll help. We got -4a, so a is 1, c is -3. And then it's all over 2a, so again, a is 1. So we plug it all in, and now it's just a simplifying problem. All right, so now we got to kind of go through and simplify just like we did above. So we got the -4, so that just becomes -4. We've got 4 squared, all right, that becomes 16. Then we've got our -4ac part. So again, this is all multiplication. So we got -4 times 1, that's -4. -4 times -3, that's +12, right? +12, okay? A negative times a negative is a positive. So it's really got to be careful with your negative signs. Then it's all over 2 times 1, so that's just 2, all right? So now we can keep going. The only thing we're going to do in this step is add together our 16 and our 12. So we've got -4 plus or minus square root of 28 over 2. Now, we can't take the square root of 28. Oh, no. So what we have to do, we have to actually break up 28, all right? So what are we going to do? How can we break up 28? So this is why we had to do the simplifying radicals lesson first, okay? So 28, we know that can be broken up into 4 times 7, okay? The square root of 4 is 2. So this becomes 2 radical 7. Now, I'm going to show you in a second why it's important to simplify that, okay? So we have -4 plus or minus 2 radical 7 over 2, all right? It's important because now we have some division that we can do, all right? This number is being divided by 2, and this number is being divided by 2, all right? So we can actually go ahead and do that division there. -4 divided by 2, that's -2. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1, so these kind of cancel out. And we just get -2 plus or minus radical 7. Now, this might surprise you, but this is actually our final answer, okay? Above, we were actually able to take the square root of 25, and that's why we got actual numbers here for our answers, all right? Square root of 7 is a crazy decimal, okay? We don't need to do anything here. This is as simplified as we can get it because we can't actually add -2 with the square root of 7. So our answer is just -2 plus or minus square root of 7. So this is just what you're going to be doing on your practice, all right? Simplifying your radical as much as you can. If there's a negative in there, that's okay. We just add an I. You can go ahead and start working on your practice, all right? If you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.